Alright. We're getting into Deer versus Ragnarok. PVZ. So we're getting a lot of good matchup variety here. I like it. We have a Terran up in the final, so we'll either be getting a ZVT or a PVT. Alright. Down here on the bottom right-hand side of Triton's, playing for Shivo. It is Ragnarok. And up on the top, playing for a team that I cannot remember because I think it's one of the Chinese teams, but I may not be true in that assumption because I actually just can't remember. Sorry. Deer. Oh yeah, newbie, right. God, how the fuck do I forget that? How do I forget that? Prize pool for this tournament is a smacking $200. Is this a special map? No? I don't think so. Pretty sure I hosted the Blizzard version. I did it out of my favorites, which is the Blizzard version. Yeah, $200 first place, 100 second, third and fourth both get 25. Yeah, I mean it was an LE. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I do it out of my. It was the same Triton that I hosted the first time. My Korean's not good enough to know what they're saying. Control, where are you? Mr. Admin Man, Control. Tell me what they're confused about. I don't know, they were saying... Deer said something about if the map was like a different map. Is he... I don't know. I think he's just... Might be just confused about something. I don't know. Oh, I didn't give you a mod. Whoops. The HP bar? What? HP bar didn't change? I don't know. I do not know. I mean, I'm like 99.99% sure I hosted the LE version of the map. Anyway, so yeah, PVZ. Back to a matchup that I'm aware of what's actually happening in. Phoenix first is going to be coming out from Deer, then into Oracle. A lot of Protoss players have been going for double Oracle Stalker. This is not Roddy build, no. This is normal PVZ. This is literally almost every PVZ opener. But a lot of players have been going for double Oracle Stalker, considering that they want to just get the Oracles out as fast as possible to deal as much damage as possible, as early as possible, to start the snowball. And given that a lot of Zergs usually just will scout with the Overlords anyway, either with speed or just sacking them in to scout. A lot of Protoss players feel like just going Phoenix to deny the Overlords won't really do anything anyway, because they'll know what's happening regardless. And even if you do use the Phoenix to kill the Overlords, then that's also just giving away the fact that you've gone Stargate already anyway. So some Protoss feel like it's just better to go for do Oracles and then use a Stalker to help defend. Nice micro there. Doing the proper shift Q technique now that the Oracle bug derpy ass micro is a thing. You have to try and shift click the Oracle away from the drone, so that way, instead of stutter stepping it basically, so that way it doesn't get aggroed on by the queen or whatever it's attacking it, and then it like really quickly turns towards it. It's really, really annoying. But it looks like he's doing the totally normal stuff, going for the Robo after the 3 Oracle style. This is still very popular. Gets a couple more drones. Very nice micro again. Ooh, we made 4 Adepts actually. This is a bit different. You don't normally see someone going for this many Adepts. Usually it's just 2 to try and shade into the third base to kill some drones. He's going to be able to kill off some of the Lings because of this. Usually a good group of Lings can easily deny it, but given that it's 4 Adepts this time, makes it very difficult. So this is actually a really cool move. I like this a lot. Oracle is going to go in for the natural once more, get a couple more drones. Gets 1 Oracle, but not bad at all. Killing off 7 more drones for a total of 10. Losing all 4 Adepts and an Oracle for 10 drones. Not bad, honestly. Not bad. Found that quite decent. Couple Zealots here to help. Oracle's following the Lings, making so that way they can't ever get anything. Nicely done. So yeah, solid opening from Deer. 3 Oracle stuff into the Robo with some sentries is very, very common with a third base behind it. Stats usually goes for very heavy on the... that's the wrong phrase, sorry. He gets... A lot of times he goes for Immortal Chronode with 4 sentries and then does a poke across the map with 2 Oracles above to force units, clear off like a creep tomb or so, and then send out hallucination scouts. And it also kind of fakes the Immortal Sentry follow-up pressure that was very common after this build for a very long time. Deer, on the other hand, going pure defensive. He's going double Warp Prism due to the fact that he's... I think he's... Has he scouted it, or is he... No, he saw a Roach Worm. He sees Roach Worm, but I guess he didn't see any roaches, so he can kind of assume that's a fake Roach Worm going straight into Hydra, because Hydra Ling, very common now in ZVP, due to the Lurker buff, given that Lurker range is very good now. Up until recently, it was also due to the fact that Adepts were shit, and so there wasn't really much threat to be had with Adept, early Adept builds, so Roach openings were not as needed. So a lot of players were going for straight Hydras. I like the actual the Archon drop follow. It's kind of interesting. You don't really ever see this. It's kind of a unique twist on it. Going straight up into Storm. He did get the double Prism as... Whoa, that was close. He did get a double Prism. There's a second one out here as well. So yeah, that's why I saw that he was going... That's why I was confused at first, because he went for double Warp Prism instead of any Immortal. So if there was a big Roach swell coming in, then he would be a bit vulnerable to that. But going for double Prism is actually really, really good for his Hydra, because... you can very easily split them apart. You don't need to have Immortals back at home defending. You can use those resources on the Warp Prisms instead. And so if you're planning on going into a macro game and don't see that your opponent is immediately going for some like huge 50 drone Hydra Ling Bane bust or something, then you can sneak out those extra 2 Warp Prisms really quickly. It's nice. But Ragnarok over here going for the big Doom drop. Luckily, the Zealot comes and scouts it. This stuff is so really difficult. Amazing English, I know. To defend if you have no idea it's coming. But Deer, fully prepared, gets both stasis off. Everything's going to unload, but he does fully see it coming in advance, so he will be able to split up his army accordingly. He's got a lot of cannons and shield batteries at his third base. That's definitely the way you want to go for it. And he will be able to defend this relatively easily. Could he get a couple storms off onto the Overlords? No? Okay. Guess not. Warp Prism was threatening some harassment over here as well. I don't think it did anything, though. Yeah, not really. But yeah, going for slightly slower fourth bases with a lot of cannon shield battery defense on one of the exteriors is really, really good, and how to play a good way to play PvZ at this point, because a lot of times Zergs will be going for these mid-game swells to really try to bust down an undefended Protoss player. So delaying the fourth base a little bit just to make sure you're locked down tight on these first 3 bases is definitely advised if you are having troubles dealing with some of those types of some of those plays out of Zerg. What are we talking about? 12 pools in chat. You scout a 12. Okay, never mind. I was gonna say, but we're getting an attack here. So with +2 finish, looks like Deer's trying to get on top of the army here before the full lurker transition comes in as well. Going to be able to kill off one of the overlords with the most of the units in them, so this will get defended quite easily. Unfortunately, actually loses the Archon since he was kind of busy focusing defending this drop over here, so that's definitely unfortunate. Losing with both those Archons with the Warp Prism is a big blow. It's going to require him to now use this second Prism on the left side. And of course, you always want to keep those Archons alive. But Deer's been trading quite well this game, I have to say. The lurkers are going to kind of prevent him from going much further at this point, since he only has a couple of immortals. He has double robo production, but I don't think he's gotten many rounds out of it yet, so he's not really in the spot where he can fully break it, unless he starts doing this nice counter harass double prong stuff. This is really, really good. Using the prism to pull Ragnarok away down to the 3rd, while trying to poke up over to the 4th, but Ragnarok, well done, comes over with the lurkers to help zone. Dodges a lot of the storms also. Oh, that one gets a bit of a chunky hit right there. We'll be able to kill off this 5th base, which is nice. But Ragnarok definitely is locking himself down here, using the lurkers quite well, repositioning them and keeping Deer as far away from his main core bases as possible. But now this base again. Oh, good reaction time. Roach counterattack is going to be able to get a couple of mortals, but the shield batteries are just enough to keep one of them alive. Fleet Beacon and extra Stargate's going to be coming up now. The carrier transition is where Deer's going to be looking to go next. Carriers, for a while, were quite shit. They were very, very bad after they got nerfed a couple times, but now that Infested Terrans are gone, it makes it a little bit more viable to go for them. It gives them a lot of their strength back, and going for carriers against this type of lurker play is very good. Going for a fast mothership is also great too. However, Deer's going to get completely caught off guard. He has no idea that this attack is coming over here, or maybe he does and he just didn't care. But, I mean, this is extremely threatening. He's got a decent amount back at home. He's going to be trying to save up to get as many carriers out as possible, but he's really only going to have time for 2 at this point. Getting some good storms down onto the Hydras, a couple of the preceding lurkers as well. This army is doing a lot, killing off down the 3rd base, but ooh, this is going to be a bit risky. He's going to be not paying attention to this. Loses a lot of High Templar, full of storm energy. Killing off the Hydra Den is nice, and it's now putting Ragnarok to 3 bases, which is the same count as Deer. Once this 4th base gets up, he'll be ahead in that regard. Trying to storm down. Oh, actually stormed his own observer there. He's got another one over here, though, so that's good. But Ragnarok's just going to pull the trigger. He sees how small that army is. He's going to jump right on it. A lot of Zealot reinforcements coming from the side. Carriers are now coming in to help. I don't know if there's any... Yeah, there's no anti-air left to deal with that, actually. Not sure if that was the best move out of Ragnarok. He did kill a decent amount of the ground, but now, especially without a Hydra Den, because he lost it over at the 3rd base to the counterattack, these carriers are going to do free reign on the entire ground army of Ragnarok. He's going to have to run away at this point. And this army is still alive, too. Dude, these games are just absolute clown fiestas today. Ragnarok transitioning into the Viper tech. However, he doesn't actually have any Hydras left. He's got 5. That's, I mean, you can't pull carriers into 5 Hydras. You're not going to kill them with that. He's frantically remaking this hydrogen to hopefully get some more hydras out so he can actually use this bank. Once this hydrogen finishes. Oh wait, how many larvae does he have? Oh, he's got no larvae. Never mind. He just made 8 of them. I was gonna say he was gonna just spam out like 20 hydras, but he doesn't actually have the larvae to do it. He's only got 13 coming out, which is still a good amount, but they are still a little bit ways off. Deer doesn't feel fully secure in attacking in here, though, since there are some good spores and some, still a lot of lurkers out. It's a bit risky. Gonna suck up all the energy out of the hive. Hopefully that a war prism doesn't find its way in here and kill that off, because that'd be quite unfortunate. Are we talking about 12 pool and like full walling in chat or something? Generally you shouldn't full wall, but like again, if you feel really not safe about it, then sure, go ahead. Every time I try to analyze this and help you guys in chat, then we get an attack. Big storm going down on all the lurkers at the front. Viper is trying to pull in one of the carriers, does do so, but again, huge storms on the hydras now. But does get a couple of the whatchamacallits, carriers, and a lot of the ground forces did actually evaporate to these carriers, or to the lurkers. Pulls in 2 more carriers, gets 2 more picks off. Ragnarok is doing very well for himself in this fight, but now a lot of Archons and Charizards coming in for the reinforcements, shaving off all the rest of the lurkers, and now all of a sudden Ragnarok is forced to turn away, losing a lot of his army here. A couple Lings trying to reinforce to flank some of the army. God damn, we're down to like the final couple units here again. Some trickling reinforcements coming in, but that's not going to do anything. That's a bit of a waste. Ragnarok getting a little disjointed here. Really should be waiting for the full remax here. Well, it's not remax, but reinforcements, you know what I mean. Both these Archons are super low, by the way. Hydra's picking off the interceptors. This is actually really not good for deer. You needed to keep those away. It's going to take basically an entire lifespan to remake all those interceptors at this point. But it doesn't matter, because there's enough Charge-Lots and Immortals and Archons reinforcing their way in. Nicely done out of deer. Another bit of a scrap fest there. Some very interesting games coming out. And look at that. We observed a game, and we got promoted to GM. And so I just have to say that I know I played really well that game. I was moving around quite a bit. I got a lot of reinforcements coming out. The carrier transition was on point. Really one of my proudest games right there, so I'm quite happy with it. Good job, me. Oops. There we go. Okay. Second map is Ephemeron. It's kind of funny. Funny timing. Alright. Go. Yeah. Funny that was funny. Alright. So up on the top, just barely losing that last one. Going down to the last final units in a bit of a scrappy, low econ scenario. Playing for Team Chivo, it is Ragnarok. And playing for Team Newbie, which I now remember. Thanks to the kind folks in chat reminding me. He is a Protoss player. He doesn't normally play in online tournaments, but we got him here today for the GKI. It is Deer. Gas first? Yeah. Okay, so gas first. Let me explain. If you do not scout as Protoss versus Zerg, it's actually more efficient to go gas first into Gateway and then the rest of your build as usual, because you get slightly more gas income to get a very slightly faster Stargate. It's a couple extra seconds faster. Usually you can get it down at 2:19. Whereas if you go for gas first, no scout, you can get it about, like, I think it's like 2:16 or so, I think it is. However, if you try to go gas first with a normal gateway scout or pylon scout, it ends up being, it ends up not working out at all. Like, you just don't get any benefit from it, because the amount of resources you're losing on minerals from the scout offsets the amount of extra gas you're getting from the gas first. So that's why you don't do it with a scout, but you do it with a no scout opener for gas first. Is it worth the gamble you don't see pool first? At this level of play, you so very rarely see early pools in PvZ that a lot of the pros find it totally fine to gamble that. A lot of pros, especially Hearthstone and a lot of the EU nerds, will very heavily what's the word I'm looking for? Protest is not really what I'm trying to say, but we'll go with it. Protest gateway scouts, because it's a waste of minerals essentially, because again, so little Zergs actually do anything that's worth scouting at that early time in pro level tournaments, that it's not worth the extra resources being lost, that it's just much better to not scout or do a later scout after Nexus or Cyber. Two littlelings are going to sneak on in. They did a bit of the loopy-doop around the side, getting a dodge on the Adept, but the Adept then comes in and is able to shed off a couple lings, but these ones will be able to get a scout on the tech, disrupt the mining a little bit. Whoa! Oof, just barely gets it. Very nice. Still going to be doing the normal stuff. So this is what I was talking about, how a lot of players are going double Oracle Stalker now into the fast robo. It's actually a very fast robo that I'm looking at it, because of the fact that, again, it was a gas first, so he does have that extra income. I forgot to look at when the Stargate went down, actually, so I'll look at the replay. Oh, score, thank you. I'm very bad at remembering, sorry. Ooh, into fast Twilight, too. Okay, this is interesting. This is very interesting. I'm very curious to see what he's going to do here. Is he going to go right into an Archon drop? That would be fucking archaic. YOLO's in, gets 2 drones, loses a lot of hull damage though, so I'm not quite sure if that was worth it. Can you please tell True to play 12 pool next game, because we have an important discussion on chat. I could. You can go into his stream chat if he's still streaming and tell him to do it on his next ladder game, because he's knocked out of the tournament. Yeah, this is an Archon drop. What the fuck? Holy shit. Deer is unironically Archon dropping. Just like straight up Archon drop. I mean, it's gonna be 2020 in like, what, 3 days or something? 4 days? I feel like I'm in fucking April 2018. Jesus. I mean, if it works this game, I'm immediately going to start Archon dropping again, because I loved doing Archon drops. It felt very, very enjoyable to juggle micro those Archons. It was a very satisfying way to multitask. There's another question in chat that I thought I was going to answer, but I can't remember. We can look at Deer's perspective while I look for it. Oh yeah, why put core on the other side of the wall next to the gate? I mean, it really doesn't matter. It's entirely preferential. Did he just lose his Oracle? I think he just YOLO'd his Oracle into nothing and lost it. Yeah, he did. So the double Archon drop's going to come in here, try and shave off some of the units. Ragnarok's probably just as surprised about this as I am, because literally no one does this anymore. It's like just not good. As you can see, it doesn't do any damage. Doesn't actually kill any drones. And Ragnarok's up 10 workers from basically nothing. It's very good at killing. It's very good at killing and clearing creep, which is nice, and you can also have the potential to do one of these charge lot follow-up pushes to it, but Ragnarok, again, very well prepared, has the roaches out to deal with it. Gets the queens, though, which is nice, and saves... he actually lost one of the Archons. Oh, this is nice. Those couple Zealots getting those drones, actually, is very, very nice. And then 2 Adepts shading into the natural, getting even some more drones, so this is actually ending up not that bad in terms of the drone trades. Brings the Archon back up at the top. If he was able to save the second Archon, then I feel like this would be very, very good. But, I mean, he's still getting some drones here. Alright. I'm amazed that did as much damage as it did, to be honest with you. I was not expecting that. That was actually very good. Good lord. That was very good micro on Deer's part. Even though he did lose the... Oh, nice. Even denies the 4th base. Nice catch. Even though he... What am I saying? Even though he lost one of the Archons, he did very good at target firing the Queens with the Archons and juggling them while the Zealots tanked up all the Roaches. And then he had 2 Zealots split up to the top here and were target firing drones all in the meantime. So while Ragnarok was busy microing against the Archons in the Prism, he was losing a bunch of drones up at the top with the 2 Zealots. And then shading in the 2 Adepts at the same time while all that was happening. Very, very well done, honestly. I'll excuse the 1 Archon loss because of it. He's just going to transition back at home into the normal full 8 gateways worth of tech, getting the second Robo Bay. Sees that it's Roach Hydra, expecting there to be lurkers, which there are. Some Phoenixes coming in to secure the scout to make sure that it is actually what's happening. He doesn't actually get the read on it yet, because he's kind of derping around, not focusing. Okay, he doesn't actually confirm it yet, but he's going to probably assume it. Normal 4th base timing coming out, since Deer was the one that was on the aggressive on the aggressive side. Is that what I'm saying? He doesn't have to take so late of a 4th base this time and worry about cannoning up his 3rd as much. He has the tempo lead at this point. And now he's faking this little attack up here, just kind of forcing units out if he can, but Ragnarok didn't really fall for it, still making drones here. He knows that he's in a pretty good spot. Yeah, here we go again with the exposed tech. I really just never understand it. It bit True in the ass that one of those other games that we casted on Triton when he lost both his Evos before 2-2 finished and his Baneley Nest. Deer's trying to push up into a choke versus lurkers, and that's going about as well as we all expect it to go. Zealot counterattack going to be killing off this 4th base, so that's very exposed. Attacking this 3rd base location at the same time. He's going to get flanked a little bit here, so this is a bit risky. The Zealots are coming into the 4th base at the same time this is happening, but Ragnarok is fully aware of that happening as well. Going to be able to kill those off, so very nicely handled by Ragnarok. Some of his reinforcing units are going to get kind of caught up, though. But that could have gone much, much worse if Deer really pulled his attention apart there. Oh, that's not good. Ooh, that was nice, though. Okay, there's the extra Stargates and the Fleet Beacon again. We're going to be going to the carriers and the mothership at some point, I'd imagine. Deer seemed to have favored going straight into carriers in that first game instead of the fast mothership, which is something that a lot of players like Trap used to do a lot, where they would just go versus heavy lurker players, they would just go straight into mothership for the cloaking to make it much easier to defensively hold off lurkers when they would try to go for the big siege ups. Since carriers usually take so long to get out, it's sometimes a bit risky to go straight into them. But the mothership really kind of gives you some extra room to play with, that cloak. Overseer's going to try and see the transition timing. Don't think he saw it, though. Well, he saw a carrier being made if he noticed. But he can, again, assume that that's kind of what's happening at this point, since Deer has not been really trying to go full YOLO at any point. He's just poking and prodding as much as he can. He's actually doing an extremely good job of that, I should say. Deer's army has not really left the middle of the map for the last like 3 minutes, I feel. And you can see the effect that has on the creep spread on the map. Oh, I don't have my thing set up. Dang it, I wanted to do my sick. Look at this, ready? Wait, no, that's not what I want. Oh, I messed up. My production quality is not there. Where is it? Where is this scene? I don't know. Alright, this is not important. I have a mini-map. I have like a blow-up mini-map that I can put up, but I forgot to get it hockeyed. Anyway. Ragnarok has no fucking vision on the map. That's all I'm trying to fucking say, okay? Deer's been doing a really good job of staying on the map and keeping his presence known and not allowing any creep to be spread out, which is super limiting as a Zerg player. You really feel blind not knowing what's out there when you don't have half the map covered with creep. So Deer is in very good control of this game, I would say, ever since the beginning with the Archon drop. So many Immortals. Yeah, you do want a lot of Immortals versus the Lurkers. They're really the only thing on the ground that is going to keep you alive. They're the only sustain you have versus Lurkers. Every other gateway unit basically just completely melts. And you need something to stay packing and dealing a lot of damage. So we have an attack coming here from Deer, but at the same time a Roach-Ling counterattack going on to the 4th base with the shield batteries and cannon shield to keep this alive for at least a little bit, to buy some time for some reinforcements, but that's eventually going to get cracked down since a lot of the cannons are all the way up here. Mothership has arrived, and storms are going down onto the Lurkers and Hydras. There is no Warp Prism to reinforce. There is a pylon over here, but the rocks... Oh, they did get taken out, so that's nice. He's going to try and focus down the 4th base and probably leave or continue the fight. I'm not sure, really. Looks like he's going to get forced to commit now with the pull on the Mothership. That's going to get targeted down quite quickly. And now all of a sudden, it's only carriers with no ground support. And I think Deer may have just overstepped his bounds a little bit. Gonna be able to kill off a lot of these interceptors as well. Finally is going to kill off the Roach-Ling counterattack with the reinforcing carriers, but lost a lot of carriers there, lost a lot of Templar, and all of his Immortals. There's only 2 Immortals on the field at this point. And we have Microbial Shroud being researched. Can I get a fucking pog in the chat? Because this is about as newsworthy as you can get in StarCraft at this point in time in the year. There's no more tournaments happening besides these little online ones. And right now we have Microbial Shroud being researched and Infestors being made. So, is this the hypest moment of the year? Can you say? I would argue it. I would argue it. I would absolutely argue it. +2 is finishing on the carriers though, so that's going to be a real big boost in attack damage. DPS on carriers once you start getting the higher upgrade counts is actually absurd. Oh, catches a lot of these Lurkers out when the Hydras and stuff aren't really prepared. No Infestors with a Microbial Shroud out yet, so a lot of that storm damage is going to come down. All the Lurkers getting absolutely annihilated. There's still a good Hydra count up, so if you're using all your storm energy on the Lurkers, you don't actually have any left for the Hydras, so Deer appropriately backing up there. Ooh, Immortal drop, actually killing off the 4th base. Dang, nice. Whoa! Oh, wow, I cannot believe he killed that. Felt like that was like infinity range away, but whatever. Carrier count's getting pretty ridiculous at this point, but again, Shroud will be coming into effect, and this has been used so rarely that I'm curious if Deer is like actually aware of the effect it will have on the units. There it does go down onto the Hydras. I mean, it still looks like they're taking a bit of damage. There's also the storm to come into play here. I don't know, man. Ragnarok looks pretty fucking dead. If I have to say it. He gets under the Shroud, but well, I guess we can see why no one decides to make that upgrade. Uh-oh. I'm honestly curious of how that would have gone if the series or if the game was actually even at that point. I really would like to see how that goes, because like I mean, Deer was ahead in that game for basically the entire time. So I'm very curious as to how that would actually play out if they were on even footing. Does the reduced Colossus damage is coming from the top? Nice. I don't know. No, it doesn't. That was a wonderful use of that spell. I absolutely loved it. Anyway. Oops. Alright, up at the top. Poggest moment of 2019 with the Shroud in research. Unfortunately, it did not work out for him. The absolute Poggest move would have been it actually working, but I mean, we can only be blessed so much. One at a time, one at a time. It is Shivo's Ragnarok. And on the bottom with some pretty solid play, bringing out quite an old build, an old style, the Archon drop. Making it work, it is Deer for Team Newbie. Oh, whoops. Okay. Deer once again going for the no scout gas first. Zerg wins almost every late game still, LOL, at pro level. I would love to see the statistics you have in mind for that. Scouting after the Cybercore, gonna go see in just to make sure that there are no early shenanigans out of Ragnarok, but he will not find it because it does not exist. Oh shit, score, thank you. I always keep fucking forgetting. I'm so bad at what I'm doing. It's okay. We'll survive. Comes over, sees absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. Stargate once again from Deer. Should not be expecting anything else from him. I would be extremely surprised to see a Twilight first or anything like that. Although Twilight first did kind of come back a little bit before the post BlizzCon patch, like in the WCS round of 16 and BlizzCon. There were a few more Twilight openers coming out with some early Adept builds to kind of mess with the Zergs, because people were doing it. People hadn't done it for so long that even though it's not really the greatest build, it kind of became somewhat okay again since almost no one was playing it. Neve did pretty decently with it. I think Trap did it a couple of games. Classic tried it once or so, and he did ridiculous damage with it, but still lost anyway. But ever since the patch, the nerf to the Adepts happened, it completely erased it. Then they brought the nerf back, or they reverted the nerf, I mean. So Adepts are back to being completely normal, but we're still not seeing it. Because it's just not a great build, to put it lightly. Okay, Phoenix first version into the second, or into the first Oracle. We'll see if he goes for 2 or 3. Wouldn't be surprised to see if he goes for the same build on Triton, which we'll be getting a robo down in just a moment. We'll see if that's what he decides, and there we go. Scada boop bada bing. Ragnarok, on the other hand, also playing extremely standard. We should be seeing a Roach Warren soon enough. There go the Spores. For some of the Oracle defense, he'll have his queens positioned on the empty bases, being as efficient as possible with his queen micro and usage. Very nicely done. Gets a lot of hull damage on that Oracle, actually, for literally just a scout. He didn't even try to go in for any drones. So that's a bit unfortunate. Deer doing the 4 adept thing again. So again, this is exactly identical builds to Triton. And again, usually you only see two adepts being done with this little multi-prong attack here. But Deer going a bit harder on the 2 adepts. So it's a little bit more investment, but again, more potential damage. But that also means that he doesn't do that stats like pressure thing with the immortal and the sentries, because you don't have as many sentries banked up. Going into the Forge Twilight, the normal time as well. Gonna try and come in here, gets the lift on the queen. Targeting down 3, 4, almost 5. Oh, 5, there we go. Got some of the ones that just popped out. Queen's coming to reinforce, and now he's right on out of there. Nicely done. He's going for the fast warp prism once again. Interesting. I wonder if he does this every game. Pops in again. There's no queens here. Nice. I really wonder if Deer does this every game. Going into the 2 warp prisms. Yep, there it is. Because, I mean, like, does he not just die to a huge roach counterattack right now? Like, he does. But obviously he's scouting for this. He sees the drone. He sees the drone count, the gas count at each of the bases. He can kind of assume that it's not happening. If you see a lower drone count and a sparsity of gases, then you can assume that it's not gonna come at you. And again, doing the same Archon drop thing too. So yeah, this is interesting. I kind of like this a lot. I quite like this. Gonna be able to kill off some of these overlords here. Very nicely done. Oh, that's a slop. That's a slop right there. Loses 2 oracles for free. Got a little bit preoccupied doing something else on the map. Oh, it doesn't even get that overlord. Yeah, that's a yikes move out of Deer right there. No bueno. Brings one of the warp prisms with the rest of the army though, so it looks like he's gonna mix it up a little bit. Last game, he did this on Triton. We did not have one of these types of early pushes right here. The game was playing out a little bit differently, so he did not go for it, but this time he will be. Timing up with +1. Doesn't have any immortals or anything with this, it's just the charge slots. He'll be able to clear a lot of this creep, and having this warp prism here threatens the fact that he might warp in over here, but instead he's doing it on the Archon drop warp prism. This is sick. This is a super sick play right here. It's really pulling Ragnarok apart. There was a Overlord with Banelings in it. There we go. Kills off a ton at the natural, but there's still a huge army at the front here. We'll see if he can properly defend against this. There's a lot of roaches and no immortals, so I think he should be fine. Deer really cannot push into this. Nice defense out of Ragnarok. The Baneling drop on the other side also did a great job. Taking what was supposed to be a spot where Deer is looking to find an advantage, pulls it and rips it back, throws it in his face, puts Deer on the backside now. Would have been better off if he just sat on his fucking ass and defended the Bane drop and just maybe continued poking around with the Archons and stuff. But he tried for it. I like the idea. Deer's gonna go ahead and take the vertical 4th base. So again, we saw Trap take this 4th base in his PvT against Bunny in the first series, and I had mentioned how I'm not sure where you're supposed to take 4th bases on this map anymore since the rich gas geysers are gone. So you only have 1 gas on each of these 4th bases, which makes it kind of awkward for Protoss to scale tech scale into the late game army with only 7 gases. So it's interesting to see him going for this base instead of this one. But Ragnarok's coming in here with a really big Roach Ravager Baneling army. Going to come in for the attempted flank, but immediately disengages on it. Does not feel that engagement there. There's a lot of Archons prepared. Still goes for it anyway, even after taking a lot of retreating damage. Tries to get in onto the Immortals. The War Prism is here. He could be juggling, but he doesn't quite realize he has it over there. This is actually kind of going alright for Ragnarok a little bit. There's actually a huge Zealot Warping happening at the same time on the other side. Completely missed it. Tons of drones going down, and it's forcing Ragnarok to continue to commit. He's going to be able to kill off all the Immortals, well, at least one of the Immortals. He could potentially focus those ones down, but with the Oracles helping, I guess not. But this drop on the backside did a huge amount of damage, and he's not done with it yet. Although the Queen's on the Spore. Alright, never mind. He's done with it. But yeah, Deer definitely ended up much ahead in that situation right there. Big brain plays to do the huge warping on the backside. Could have defended even better if he had realized he remembered, or if he realized he had the Warp Prism there to juggle some of the Immortals and Archons. But looks like he didn't end up needing it. He's got +2. There's only +1 attack on the melee unit, so these Roaches are completely naked in terms of upgrades, and Ragnarok is 100% deado. And Deer will be going on to the finals to play against Bunny in the best of 7 to finish it all off. Look at that. Would you look at that? Alright. Let's get Bunny up in here. Where did he go? Bunny! Bunny! There he is. Alright, well, I got these map vetoes set up and everything. Let me rest my voice for a moment. Throw it to break. I will be back in just a few minutes, and we'll get going with the final match of the night. Thank you all for watching. I'll be right back.